Now I will say, and this is the book I know best of yours.
Mhm.
It's a complicated argument that you make, and there's a major piece of it that I struggle with, which is about free will. But you just lay it out now, and then we'll see if we can flesh it out for our lay audience and myself.
Yeah, so I make two claims. One is that the way in which we think morality works, it does not work. And probably the best explanation is that there is no morality, and that there's also no responsibility. So let me take the responsibility first.
Okay.
So we often think that individuals are morally responsible. And by that, what we mean, roughly, is that they're the sort of individuals that can be praised or blamed in a correct manner. I mean, you can praise or blame your dog or the cabinet door which bangs your head, but it's incorrect. But the idea is that that people can be correctly praised or blamed because they warrant it.
Right.
The problem is it's a little hard to see what it is that makes someone morally responsible. Now, there are largely two candidates in the literature, and sort of variants in this, but basically two candidates. One is that someone makes a choice, and in virtue of making a choice, they're morally responsible. That is, they're going to be praiseworthy or blameworthy, or have a neutral level, neither, zero level of praiseworthiness or blameworthiness. So there's a choice theory, and then there's kind of a character theory that your psychology, or more specifically your psychology at a time, makes you praiseworthy or blameworthy.
Okay.
The problem is that neither explanation seems to be intuitively correct. Take the choice. If you're responsible for your choice, but you're not responsible for the psychology which brought it about, then it's a little hard to see why you could be responsible based on the choice alone. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if Patty Hearst really were brainwashed, I don't think she was as a
Sorry,
side note.
Some people don't know who Patty Hearst is.
So Patty Hearst was a woman who was kidnapped in I think it was the early 70s.
Yes.
By a Marxist revolutionary group called the Symbionese Liberation Army.
Yeah. In my hometown, she was kidnapped in Berkeley when I was growing up there. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, is that right? That's
yeah. And she's a heiress of the Hearst newspaper fortune family. That's
right. Yes,
that's right.
And they kept her locked in a closet for 51 days, where supposedly they beat her, they sleep deprived her, and on her account they raped her. And so then she seemed to be a willing participant in their revolutionary activities, including things like robbing banks.
She robbed a bank famously, was captured on the video camera, and with wearing the beret and also posing with a gun in front of the Symbionese Liberation Army and logo.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
And she tried to help her members escape, and even when the police tried to rescue her, not knowing who she was, she never said, "I am Patty Hearst."
Right.
So the standard account is that she's brainwashed. Now, leave aside whether she actually was brainwashed, whether brainwashing is impossible. If she were brainwashed, the fact that she made a choice would not make her more responsible, because she's not responsible for the psychology which led to that choice, even if it didn't determine it or dictate it. Same thing if God were to create someone from nothing, right? You don't have to be religious to hold this, but if there were a God and he were to create someone from nothing, and like a split second later the person were to act, so they would have a fully formed psychology which they neither chose nor controlled, and they would act on it, does not seem that individual is responsible for that choice.
Hang on now.
Because they're not responsible for the psychology that led to it.
Sorry, yeah, that part you lose me on. How are we not responsible for our own psychology?
So, I'll get to that in a second, but I'm going to do the choice first.
Sure.
So imagine God created someone with a complete psychology, right? So imagine, the person is normally a completely egoist. They only act on their self-interest.
Right.
Except in this narrow case, which didn't apply. And the person, as a result, let's say it's Frankenstein's monster, kills a small child right after sudden creation. We don't think, the Frankenstein's monster would not be responsible. Why? Because he didn't control or didn't choose a psychology, and his choice flowed from his psychology, leaving aside whether it was dictated.
Okay. Right.
So it doesn't need to be responsible on the basis of choice. But the same thing's true with psychology. If you didn't choose your psychology, it's unclear why you would be responsible for it. Similarly, if Patty Hearst was brainwashed, because she has this psychology, it's not clear that makes her responsible because she didn't choose it. Okay. Same thing if Frankenstein's monster was created all at once and then, split second after creation has a psychology, that doesn't seem to make him responsible. Again, because he didn't choose or control psychology. Well, if the basis of responsibility is not a choice, and if it's not your psychology, there doesn't seem to be any other basis. Right? The only other option is just to stack them up and say combinations of choice and psychology, or combinations of psychology and choice do it. But if neither one by itself makes you responsible, it's unclear why stacking them up would make them responsible.
But hang on. So your examples are Dr. Frankenstein creating the psychology of the monster and the Symbionese Liberation Army creating the psychology of Patty Hearst. In which case, so you're stipulating, right, that she was brainwashed. So if you stipulate that, that's fine. I get that. So neither one in that case is responsible for their own psychology, but that's not most people, right? So,
absolutely.
Okay.
But the idea is that what makes you responsible has to be something, right? It has to be your choice or your psychology, because there's just a feedback loop, right? You exercise choice, you change your psychology. Based on your changed psychology, you make further choices. Based on your choices, you have a further change in psychology. It's a feedback loop. But it's unclear why cycling through this again and again and again makes you responsible if neither one makes you responsible. That is, if A doesn't make you responsible and B doesn't make you responsible, it's unclear why the combination of them would make you responsible. Now, you're right. We do have this feedback loop. I mean, we're not like Frankenstein's monster. We choose our psychology to some degree.
Okay.
And we're not like Patty Hearst in that, our choices do flow from our psychology and not a psychology that someone externally imposed on us, at least to that greater degree. So, but the idea is if you ask yourself what it is that is the foundation of responsibility, what it is that's the basic thing that makes you responsible, it seems there's two options, and neither one is sufficient to make you responsible.
So if you choose your own psychology and then you make a choice to do something bad, I'm still not getting the argument. Why are you not then responsible?
Well, because ask yourself, what is it that would make you responsible? Was it the fact that you chose your psychology, or was it the fact that your choice flowed from your psychology?
Okay. Oh, okay.
So if it's not the first choice, and by hypothesis not, right? Because that seems to flow from psychology you didn't choose. Let's just assume it's your first choice.
Okay.
So you're not responsible for that. But if you're not responsible for that choice, why would you be responsible for the psychology that flowed from it?
Okay.
Right? Because, of course, that psychology is, you're not responsible for the choice. So how is it a choice for which you're not responsible can lead you to be responsible for psychology?
Okay. I guess. Okay.
But if you're not responsible for the psychology, why would you be responsible for the choice that flowed from it?
Okay.
So the idea is that we never sort of break into the system. We never get something that makes you responsible.